Hello, Mr. Randy Duck, and welcome back for another video. Today we have a special guest replay provided to us by Diohs, and he's kind enough to provide this replay in a tier 10 Chinese premium heavy tank, the Highlander, and he goes on to have an absolute blinder. He has a really decent game in this tank, and which we're going to show you here. And the replay is on Dragon's Ridge Encounter Battle, where there is one enemy artillery in the game. And I've always found, if I'm honest, this tank to be a little bit it's okay. I've just found it not to be anything special really. But this game just goes to show that you can have a really decent game in this Chinese heavy tank autoloader with the 3-shot autoloader for 530 damage per shot. It puts itself at the start of this game just in a position where we can try and get some potential damage on the crosshair. So he's using this gun depression and the good turret armour which this tank does have, just to see if he can get any shots at the start. He's managed to find one shot out of his clip there, and he's bounced shots on the enemy tanks for turning fire. But he's in a good position by the fact that he is hull down, and he's just waiting patiently to see if he can get any damage. And it's a little bit of a slow start this game, but it goes on to be a little bit crazy towards the end. And he really has to sort of fight some, really overwhelming odds. So far, not lots really happened. He's got one in punishment shot in. Tanks are trying to shoot him, but he's managed to be sort of somewhat hold down to the tanks which do have shots into him, and the armour can be pretty effective. But he's going to give up that position now because, like I say, nothing's really happened. He's not going to get any more punishing shots there, and he wants to try and see if he can get involved in the game, anywhere else. So he's come around the right hand side and he's just pre-aiming this corner in case anything pokes before he decides to commit to driving a little bit further forward. He just wants to wait and see if he's going to get any potential damage there. But it doesn't really look like that's happening, and his friendly team are currently in the cap circle. So he's going to try and push forward to see if he can work any different angles here to get any shots in. Maybe he can shoot some of the tanks on the left, or he might potentially be able to shoot some of the tanks on the right hand side which have just been spotted up going for the reset on the base. One of the tanks which was in the base, our friendly tanks, I think has got destroyed, so there's only one in the cap now, and there's sort of 3 minutes left on the clock. I mean, I guess at this point he's not really too concerned about our team capping out. He's just more about trying to get as much damage out as he can, but he decides better off keep pushing around that sort of flank, mainly because there could be a lot of tank destroyers, I suspect, which would have shots on him if he was to get caught out in the open. And there are some heavy tanks now pushing around on the left, which he's going to look to see if he can get some shots in once his reload has been completed. They are losing this game at the moment. It's 12 versus 15, and it does kind of go on a downward spiral of losing tanks and really having to fight, sort of like I say, underwhelming odds towards the end of this replay. He's now in a position where, again, he is hold down, and he's just trying to use this rock to only really expose his turret if possible, just to try and give himself the best opportunity of bouncing the shots here, but and hoping the enemy team are going to poke out round that corner so he can get some more shots in. And you can see suddenly this game is looking a little bit worse for wear. Now you're now down to sort of an 8 versus 13, and the enemy team are starting to sort of go up on the tank count. And so far he's not really got a lot done. He's only got one pen towards this game here, and he's just hoping to try and get into the fight a little bit more. There is this hold down IS-4 here, which he is looking to try and get some shots in, but he just needs him to poke a little bit further up. He does pick up a little bit of assistance. He does then manage to get his second pen of the game into that IS-4, and he's just looking to see if he can try and get any more shots in. Like I say, so far he's not lost any hit points, which is good because he's probably going to need those hit points. But looking at the odds, they are starting to lose this game. He's going to try and just get further forward and get into the fight a little bit more and see if he can help out his tanks down here and try and get some shots into this IS-4 here. Looks to try and get a shot in. He does eat one, but he trades it out nicely, getting his second pen, putting that IS-4 onto a maybe a one shot, but more likely a two shot here. Enemy VZ here on the right hand side. He fires one into them. He does eat one, but he puts that VZ onto a one shot, putting him down to about 1,300 hit points, but with 2,000 damage. They are now in a 7 versus 12 scenario, so they are still losing the game. Enemy team have started to cap, but there's lots of the friendly team around that cap circle. so they could potentially get resets in here. And now he's just assessing the situation to see where he can try and get some more damage, where he needs to help out. There's 2 tanks down here on the right hand side. He wants to try and help out his friendly TD, try and get some more damage now he has fully reloaded. Gets a nice shot there into the tank, putting him onto a 1-shot. Hopefully he can try and finish him off here, because again now it's just suddenly going worse. It's now 5 to 11, so they are really outnumbered at this point. Looking to try and get a couple of shots into the bar. The bar has awful gun depression, really bad, so he's really going to struggle to get his shots into him. He gets 2 into the bar, which puts him onto a 1-shot, but he now is fully reloaded, and he's in a 4 versus 9 scenario, where he's starting to look a little bit outnumbered, and it's going to be a bit tricky. So he's basically on a reload. He didn't want to push too far around on that bar whilst he's still got all this time he's reloading. He's pulled right back to try and put himself in a situation if the bar does come round. Hopefully he's reloaded by the time that happens, and then he can try and finish him off, because there was 2 1-shot tanks around there. They're now in a 3 versus 9. A 3 versus 9, and this is not looking ideal. They're now in a 2 versus 8 scenario. He's come around here, he's seen a heavy which is full health. At this point, I guess he's hoping the enemy team don't start to cap out, because then he's going to struggle to get round there to get the reset if all of them got into the cap circle. But also, like I say, it's a 2 versus 8 scenario now. So he's trying to get himself a little bit of distance. He knows, the tanks haven't come in the cap circle, so they're obviously coming over to try and get the kill here. But he's just keeping an eye. Both of their teammates are sort of in the same location. He's just obviously hoping to try and spot these tanks before they completely surround him and leave him in a really very awkward situation. So far he's had about 4,000 damage, or just shy of 4,000 damage. But yeah, there's a long way to go in this game yet. A long way to go. And this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. So he's just waiting, like I say, for the enemy team to come to him, because he's going to try and put himself in a position where he's got, cover basically, so he doesn't get completely caught out in the open. He doesn't want to get stuck where they can just completely surround him. Wants to try and use his armour. Enemy heavy tank comes around here. He puts 1 shot into this tank. He may be able to get another shot into while this tank's distracted. Puts a 2nd shot in. Now he's getting shot from behind. He's going to dump his full mag here, which puts that tank onto a 1-shot. Now he's trying to get out a dodge from these tanks which are coming behind him. Needs to check to see how many hit points they have. They are on a 1-shot, so he's trying to angle just to block the shots off of this Emil. Emil obviously in a tier 8 tank. He has got a good chance of ricocheting some shells. He does have fairly decent armour, but he's surrounded by 3 tanks. He pulls forward so he's not getting shot in the rear, and he's only showing his frontal armour towards the enemy team, whilst he's almost reloaded. Now these 3 tanks, like I say, they're all on 1-shots. There's 4 tanks actually now, and all tanks are 1-shots. So he does have an opportunity to potentially win this trade, but this is very awkward. Lots of tanks surround him at once. He's trying to just keep cover behind. He's going to try and take out a tank here. He wants to try and focus out one of these tanks. He's going to go for the Emil. Emil puts 1 into him. He does take him out. Looks for the Emil behind him. He doesn't quite have the shots, but hopefully he should be able to try and finish off this enemy tier 8 tank here. He can try and get a shot into him. He keeps pulling back, gives him a shot, gets his 2nd shot in. He does have 1 shot left in this clip, which is enough to kill this enemy tier 8 tank, and that will put him back into 2 versus 4. But that tank gets taken out anyway by his friendly platoon Highlander, and somehow almost turning this game around. It was in a situation where it was looking almost certain loss at one point, but he's managed to hang in there, cling in there, and he's now got 6,000 damage, 2 kills and a little bit of assistance. Now one of the enemy tanks is capping. He knows one of them was behind him. He's going to try to make his way towards the cap circle, because the Highlander's not the quickest of vehicles, and although there's 2 minutes on the clock, if another one of those tanks gets in the clock, then that time's going to drastically reduce. So he wants to try and get to a situation where he's able to get over there. And sitting in a cap like this is never a great idea, just because it does give it gives you the advantage in the fact that you know where that tank is now, so that is going to help out somewhat. Now an enemy Type 5 heavy could disturb him, but he missed his shot. Now he might have an opportunity to get this second shot in and pick up the kill here. He should be able to out-reload him. Unfortunately, he doesn't roll high enough to get the kill. He's just hoping he's going to be able to just get this shell in time. And just in the nick of time, he takes out that enemy Type 5 heavy, putting himself onto about 7,000 damage and 3 kills. And now we've turned this back round to a 2 versus 3. You've got the one tank, the enemy heavy tank, which you know is in the cap circle, because he's given that away. And it's just this enemy tank destroyer, which I believe is a Borsig, which is going to be very, very difficult to spot. And the enemy artillery, which is left in this game. So he's going to head his way over to the cap circle, like I say, because then that way he knows where that tank is. You know, the Borsig, he could really struggle to end up spotting. And the artillery, again, you know, he's probably going to be hiding in the corner, waiting to try and shoot someone when they do get that reset. But hopefully, maybe after the friendly heavy tank might try and find the artillery. He's got to go anyway, because he's just got to get the reset at this point, because there's 35 seconds on the clock. Enemy artillery and Borsig actually does get spotted, so he knows that they're now behind him. He's just going to try and concentrate on getting the reset here. At this point, he doesn't know how many hit points the enemy heavy tank does have, which is in the cap circle. Hopefully he doesn't have too many, then he might be able to get the reset and turn around. But he is on full health, so he gets the reset in. Unfortunately, he doesn't pen, but he does at least reset the tank. He's going to try and get another shot in here. He's actually going to try and get his third shot away, which will put him onto a one shot. He doesn't manage to penetrate that. Now he's got to be pull back careful, because his friendly tank, which was with him, has been taken out. He doesn't have to worry about the reset for another 3 minutes. So yeah, he's kind of fine on the reset right now, because the game's going to pretty much end in 3 minutes anyway. So he's going to come round with hopefully try and find this Borsig, because I guess he suspects that the Borsig is, you know, the most likely way he's going to advance is going to try and flank him. So he's just going to ignore the tank in the cap circle for now, because the problem is if he fights a tank in the cap circle at the moment, he's going to get detected, and then that means the artillery is going to be able to have free rein to shoot at him, whilst he's also got a Borsig to contend himself with. So he's kind of waiting to, probably doing the right thing, to be honest with you, and just hope that that Borsig is going to catch that Borsig out and take him out. But like I say, he's under pressure because there's only 2 minutes left on the clock. If the enemy team wanted to, they could just not bother coming for him, but I guess it's just relying on that they may come for him. And like I say, probably doing the right thing, but unfortunately that Borsig doesn't look like it's going to flank him. So he turns around, but he turns around just in the nick of time to catch that Borsig out in the open. He's actually in a position where he can go hold down to this Borsig as well, and only expose his turret armour, which gives him the best chance of bouncing. Puts 2 shots into this Borsig, putting him to 8,400 damage. Going to try and get that second shell in, which he does, and he finishes off the Borsig, putting himself into a 1 versus 2 with this enemy artillery, which he doesn't quite know where it is, but the enemy heavy tank where he knows exactly where it is. So all he needs to do now is go on the reload, and then he can try and fight this heavy tank. And he's, you know, this game he's really turned it around for being a situation which was almost a certain loss at one point. You know, I think it was like 2 versus 9 at one point, and now it's turned it back down to a 1 versus 2, but with only 1 minute 13 seconds on the clock. Time is not on his side, but he is reloaded now, and he's going to try and find this enemy heavy tank. He's got enough time to get the reset in, which then would put it down to chance. So if he kills this tank, it's probably going to be 50-50 who wins this one, or maybe end in a draw, but hopefully he's going to have enough time to try and take out this tank, and you know, I think he's on a 2 shot to him now, so he has got enough to fire 2 into this and 1 in the artillery if it does get spotted. Only 44 seconds left on the clock. Spots the enemy heavy tank, puts him into a 1 shot. Hopefully he can try and get his second shot in before the enemy artillery gets one in. He bounces one off of the heavy tank, kills the enemy heavy tank. The enemy artillery does hit a shot. Thankfully he doesn't kill him and leaves him on 12 hit points. He does now know roughly where this artillery was, just because of where the shell tracer came from. So he's going to head that way, because he hasn't got time to cap out right now. There's 16 seconds left on the clock. He's popped his food there to increase his view range, give him the best chance of spotting this enemy artillery, and thankfully he does spot it. He's got enough alpha to one-shot it. He aims a shot with 3 seconds left on the clock. He wins the game and goes on to have a massive game there in the Highlander, finishing off with just shy of 10,000 raw damage, 6 kills, picking up a little bit of assistance there as well. Obviously gets the ace tanker and the high caliber. 3,400 block there, gets the top gun as well, and the medal for the defender medal for the resets. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that replay. Yeah, fantastic game. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the replay, and as always, happy tanking.
Enemy in sight. Hadouken!